Alright, draft science video. Yay. So anyway, sorry, I have a little bit of crowding on my desk here, so things are a little bit awkward. So let's go back to the title, just to be sure that we understand. Speed and GPS, I put in the title. So let's read some of these comments. You know, people are just obnoxious. First, logic roll the dice. Yeah, very helpful. Ask about where Tiny Chat's going to be. Report spam. Oh, I have to be signed in. I guess I could delete that. A little bit off subject, pal. Anyway, alright, so this Rick guy. Just such a, you know, Dear in Mendham, it's painful to watch, period. Yeah. Yada, yada, yada. You suck. I mean, what's the point of this crap? I mean, you keep playing this game like, okay, you're so patronizing, you're so arrogant, you know the truth, and you're not even arguing the video I made. I mean, you don't even get that there's speed and GPS in the title. That I'm talking about time dilation. I'm not talking about Kepler orbits. I mean, you're just such an asshole. I mean, you know, painful to watch. I mean, you know, it's just painful that you can't even figure out that the word speed and GPS is in the title, and that the entire video was focused on velocity implicating time dilation. General relativity, asshole. Well, I mean, you know, it's special relativity in the sense that that's really what it comes down to. The relativity of general relativity is really the same relativity of special relativity. It's really just about velocity. Velocity creates the time dilation, and the velocity is hidden in the fact that, yeah, your math doesn't account for the path that things really travel. They don't travel the same path you see with your dull and slow eye. I mean, I'll just point to the diagram. I couldn't have made it clearer, right? There's all these jiggly lines I have in the diagram. I'm talking about this Leasing effect. The implication of it is that if you have a perceptual orbit that takes place over a period of 10 seconds or something, and you see the line, well, if the line has in it vibrations, right, quite obviously, okay, when you calculate distance and velocity, if you account for the fact that the actual path is much longer, then you're going to realize that the velocity, although it looks this speed, the real speed is this, which is much faster. It's like the double helix example for electrons and spin. You see, it's a way where the speed of light could still be in something, and yet it's being absorbed in other motions. And so then you could say, oh, well, electrons aren't moving the speed of light. Well, the light inside of them still can be. Can you you're what? You're too stupid to understand the subject of the video? When it says speed and GPS in the title? Anyway, your problem with zigzag has been taken care of. Well, I don't have a problem with it, and quite obviously the links you're going to link to don't take care of anything to do with increased velocity and the implications under the relativity theories regarding time dilation, or my own theory regarding the fact that the more distance something's traveling, the more movement it has to traverse a distance, the slower its atomic metabolism is going to be. Shit. That's why I love that. I love when they use the we stuff. That's why we introduce differentials, and that's why acceleration is measured in ms2. I think he's saying the math, the mass times divided by the mass per second squared or whatever, but I can't say for sure. But clearly, when you do something per second, a second is a very long time. And a second might have in it all of this extra motion. Yeah, that you're not accounting for. Idiot. So you integrate over the time that your object is affected by the acceleration and you get the speed. Well, again, you get the speed if you've accounted for the exact path. So the argument I'm making is that when we're gravitationally accelerated towards Earth, we're actually vibrating at a frequency. And the frequency could be, theoretically, as high as a Planck style frequency. It could be an incredibly fast frequency in terms of the rebound of the matter we're pushing into constantly. So gravity affects our internal structure, points it in a direction in the sense that the pressure, the photons, want to go down. The force below allows an incursion of, so to speak, of some degree, some measure of incursion into their space. And then in the Newtonian equal but opposite reaction way, it pushes back. And that creates movement. Okay, so the going in and the getting pushed back out creates movement. And that movement is distance. And you have to account for that distance in calculating velocity. So when I move across the space, when the Earth rotates and I'm sitting on it, I'm not just going the speed of the Earth in its rotation. I'm going the distance up and down I've been going the whole time I'm traveling. The whole time I'm traveling, I'm bouncing. And so my velocity must be higher than what it appears because of the extra distance I'm traveling. My actual velocity. Can you understand that? Anyway, you get the speed. You integrate the speed over time and you get the final position. Well, again, if you're calculating final positions and you just ignore any obligation to understand any internal effects, then yes, your velocity number is going to be corrupted by the fact that you're just seeing the straight line and you're seeing nothing else. So you have to understand what the matter inside is doing. What are the atoms doing? What are the photons doing? They're the things that are going to create the effect. That's why I went to like the school of fish analogy. You have to understand the bits. Idiot. It's physics. It's nuclear style physics. You have to actually think about the fact that stuff is made out of atoms even. You won't even go that far. The real truth is you have to think about the stuff is made out of. You have to think about what the quarks are made out of and what the electrons are made out of to really understand physics. And you won't even think long enough and hard enough to realize there's atoms inside of matter and that the atoms are moving. Idiot. I mean, it really matters what speed they have. Oh, shit. If you do that in vector space, you get also the direction of an object and its final position in 3 dimensions. You are right now struggling with classic motion of celestial bodies, which has been solved a long time ago. So he posts a link to, Kepler stuff. Which is just about orbit. So yeah, am I talking about the orbit? No, the entire video, like I said, the entire video was talking about velocities. Talking about why GPS satellites are running too fast. The clocks in them are running too fast. Not too slow, too fast. And they have to be compensated to for the fact that they're running too fast. That was the entire focus of the video. And yet you're going to tell me that the video was about the shape of the orbit and what happens to it over time in terms of how it regularizes? No, that was not the subject of the video, retard. Not even close. And you do not know that the number of photons has nothing to do with the frequency, right? So here we go. I just love this. You know, this is just so fucking stupid, right? So here, painful to watch is how he categorized. And here he's going to make a point that is just so fucking idiotic. Right. If you point the same two lamps at the same spot on the wall, their combined light, so I love this, their combined light does not change the frequency, even though the number of photons that hit the wall doubles. So you really don't understand that the photon is a very tiny, minuscule thing. And that the amount of, the size, by relative to the size of an atom, a photon is like an apple is to the Earth. Right? That we're talking about a tiny speck, and that photons basically, as far as most physicists understand it, I think too, basically are interacting with electrons. They interact with electrons. So when you shine two different light sources on something, you don't sit there and blend the light together. It doesn't like, oh, the light blended together, like this source of light came here and this source of light is coming here, so this photon and this photon showed up in the same order and they all came to the same electron and affected it. You think that would happen, right? That you would throw your apple from space and hit the same spot on planet Earth. That if I could stand in two different spots in space, throw apples at the Earth, and there's some reasonable prospect that those two apples will somehow hit in the same 4-inch circle. That's your insanely stupid and ignorant argument. Not knowing anything about real physics and real sizes and real dimensions of any of these objects. So quite obviously, two sources of light will not be hitting the same electrons. They'll be hitting different electrons. Their frequencies will not be changed because they will not be blending their photons. The photons from one source will not be mixing with the photons from another source and hitting the same electrons in the same atoms. None of that's going to happen. So your theory of your understanding of light is preposterously inane. Does not change the frequency even though the number of photons that hit the wall doubles. The frequency is an inherent property of the photon by itself. Okay, so that's, see, these are one of these little dogma statements, you know, of the religion of quanta bullshit. This is one of the dogmatic God therefore said, you know, and they just, it's just this assumption that's built into physics that somehow, you know, photons are carrying a whole bunch of information, you know, and that they're waves, that there's some sort of little fly thing that's doing all kinds of little wavy crap, and there's all kinds of bullshit like that built into it. And it's just bullshit. The only reason why they draw the picture that way is because when photons interact with electrons, okay, the electron changes the photon's directional momentum in a way that is synonymous with certain mathematical features of wave dynamics. But it's a parallel system. It's not the same system. It's not the same effect. It's just an effect that has a similar outcome because it's based on a similar dynamic, which is the spiral of the electron, which is intrinsically and fundamentally wave-like. Yeah, I don't know how, I really don't have to go any further than this though. So you show me when you've actually combined a stream of photons, okay, and how that has no effect. So you take two light sources, okay, combine them into a single stream of photons that hit the same atom anyway, or the same grouping of atoms, okay, so that your stream of photon hits the same grouping of atoms, and then tell me that the atoms receive the light as not having an increase in frequency. So go ahead and double the number of photons that actually hit a node of atoms, and then demonstrate to me that those atoms aren't fooled and don't think the frequency has doubled. Go ahead and show me that experiment, shit for brain. You rude little putz. You obnoxious hunk of shit. Ugh, creep. So, wrong again. Off subject again. Alright, so there's some other cunt. He even has cunt in his name, which is good. The truth is, there is no such thing as absolute, actually, and universally. Again, so this is another dogma of their science. They have established that this is a proven fact now of our new physics. Okay, that nothing is real. Yeah, the fact that we can't the fact that we can't measure something, the smallest thing in the universe, by just theoretical truth. We'd have no device to measure it with because it's so small. We can't touch it with anything that's not bigger than it, which is problematic. You know, you don't dissect a frog with a fucking butcher knife. And they use littler things. You have to use something smaller than the thing you're dissecting to have any hope of dissecting it properly. If you're using instruments bigger than the thing, if you're using like needle nose pliers to, you know, take apart a paramecium, you're not going to have much fucking luck. So the fact that we understand that theoretically, that now has become the dogma, the religious token, the religious, you know, carved heady thing, whatever you totem, of it's unaccessible knowledge. Therefore, its unaccessibility means it's magical. That it doesn't have a reality. That it's not really in a position because we can't see its position. It means it doesn't have a position. And that doesn't just sound just preposterously convenient. That the one thing in the fucking universe that we can't actually see is the one fucking thing that doesn't have an actual position. That doesn't just sound like grotesque religiosity. The one single thing we can't see is where all the little magic pills are hiding. Fuck you. What Gary denies is fundamental truth. See, the fundamental truth of uncertainty in the universe. They've established, somehow they have this proof of this fundamental proof because light reflects. You know, that that when photons interact with electrons, sometimes they do, they don't do some sort of, that there's a pattern. That the pattern of the electron imposes a pattern on the interaction with the photon, and the photon will do something specific to the mechanism of the electron. Yeah, that fact means the universe is uncertain. Shit. I mean, this is just so obnoxious. In quantum physics, such concepts as spooky action at a distance, entanglement, and the uncertainty principle, and the two-slit experiment, yeah, the 100-year-old piece of shit experiment, which hasn't been done the way it needs to be, which has been flawlessly proven and tested. Flawless! Listen to this rhetoric. They're calling it flawless. Yeah, I've already showed examples of the two-slit experiment that are a long way from flawless and almost demonstrate my point. And there's, you know, some other video I just saw where a guy's, you know, basically explaining the one-slit experiment and mathematically, and pretty much demonstrating that, you know, there's a ton of what's the word? Refraction and interference. That there's interference in light with a single slit, with any amount of a slit. You could have any slit, and effectively it becomes a 2-slit, 4-slit, 10-slit experiment just because of the mechanism of the way light interacts. But anyway, I don't want to get into that because then that's another whole complex subject. But just this rhetoric, flawlessly proven and tested. So when did they do the test where they put the the target screen in front of the two slits to see exactly what kind of light pattern was going through the two slits, and then aim the photons. When did they do that experiment? Just aim them, but aim them randomly and see what kind of pattern they get, with full knowledge of exactly where the photons are going to end up. You know, but it's prior knowledge. It's not trying to figure out where they are later while they're moving. You find out where they're going before you launch them. You aim them, and then do your two-slit experiment. And I'm telling you, you're going to get the same. You're going to get the same interference pattern. And there goes your whole Heisenberg bullshit. Anyway. Particle wave duality. There we go, that duality again. Particle wave duality. No, it's a particle. It's a corpuscle. It's a thing. Okay, and it doesn't have any wave in it at all. There's no wave in a photon. And emergency of gravity via leakage. Well, isn't that interesting? Gravity via leakage. I never even heard of that. Photons are leaking, and that's what's creating gravity? Proof of a... I love this. It's all proven. Proven, flawless. I mean, what a fuckhead. Presumably within the membrane of our universe. The membrane of our universe. Oh, man. So you've proven the existence of the universal membrane. Oh, anyway. From a higher dimension. Anyway, alright, I shouldn't waste this much time because this is really sounding like religion now. Space has a special curve, as Einstein says. Well, I don't think he called it a special curve, because he did the test and found that found it not only fit with the math, but shown that in the results of the experiment. Yeah, I don't think Einstein did any experiments actually, and all they did was demonstrate gravitational lensing, which in my opinion does not prove anything. On another note, I mean, it's like saying, I mean, do you think regular lensing proves something? On another note, my theory of everything is actually has a multiverse, and with it, and with or without it, actually is a plane of entropy filled with more void than matter. I mean, it really boils down to everything in a flux within a vacuum. Oh, a flux. Isn't that a scientific term? Fuck Gary. He's a lame cunt who's too lazy anyway to really correct himself. I don't even know what this means. And even try to put himself out to where anyone can hear his theory. Gary is a lazy crackpot, numbnut, busted, dickhead, shit bitch. Yeah, well, whatever, asshole. You've demonstrated your credibility with your flawlessly proven claims. Fuck you. Let's see, just some extra comment to Rick's last post about photon frequency. Planck showed that the energy of photons is given by E equals HF. Well, again, the energy of a photon, I mean, look, I mean, you know, obviously the frequency of how often how often bullets come out of a machine gun is how you would demonstrate how how effective is your machine gun at killing. Well, yeah, it shoots this many bullets per second, so yeah, that would be its energy. Yeah. So the momentum of light is E divided by C equals HF divided by C equals H lambda or whatever. And bizarrely, momentum is actually dependent on the wavelength of photons. Well, again, this is your perverse interpretation, I'm going to say, in the sense that the wavelength and the frequency are the same thing. So, I mean, it's just stupid to be talking about like they're different things. They're the same thing. And the only thing that's going to matter in the end is how many photons hit something in a given amount of time. That's the energy. I mean, red light has less energy because red light has less photons per second. Duh. I mean, less energy than blue light. Even before quantum mechanics was properly developed, special relativity was already pointing to the idea that photons must fundamentally be described in terms of wave properties. I don't know exactly how special relativity does any of that. So, yeah, I think you just made that up. Well, where is, in special relativity, is there anything about a wave property? I mean, I would argue there's fundamentally a denial of reality, in the sense, if you're going to argue that the speed of light is still the speed of light, faster than you, no matter what velocity you're going. I mean, if you're going to argue that, I can go 100,000 miles a second and then shoot a flashlight ahead of me, and the light's still going to be going 186,000 miles faster than me, miles a second faster. Yeah, that sounds pretty stupid to me. Now you want to say that I'm so time dilated, I'm moving so slowly, that I'm going, the light will be perceived as going twice as fast as it's actually going because I'm moving so slowly. Maybe you can make that kind of argument. But the light can't be going 186,000 miles a second faster than something that's moving. Can't do that. Alright, notice also the close relationship between frequency and energy for light. Well, again, I don't have to notice this, shithead. Alright, it's just kind of obvious, isn't it? The more of something, the more soldiers that are coming at you in the war, the more likely you're going to lose the war. I mean, fuck, this isn't complicated. Alright, last guy. Too much opinions. Yeah, whatever. And yeah, we should only listen to certain people because they're always right. So like when Einstein said, you're never going to get atomic nucleuses to split, and you'll never be able to sustain a nuclear reaction. When Einstein said that, everybody should have just shut up, stop doing all that nuclear research, to stop making bombs, doing all that crap because Einstein said so, right? Right. Fuck you. You're wasting time, man. No, you're an asshole, fuckhead. You're not doing physics, you just have opinions on things. Well, again, obviously I'm modeling physics, and I'm making direct accusations that people could, if they had some sort of knowledge, of some counter-truth, they could prove me wrong, but they're not doing any of that, because the truth is I'm proving that the current physics has misrepresented the evidence, and misrepresented the experiments, and misrepresented what the truth is. And that's the truth. Which is the opposite to physics and models which are realized by real scientists. Well, do real scientists think Dr. Quantum video, the highest viewed video on YouTube, that basically implies that photons can read our mind, is that the real science of physics? And those you are so envious of. Well, again, prove that. That's sort of a personal accusation. So demonstrate with some sort of evidence. Oh, you don't have any evidence. That's right. So I guess it's too much opinions by you and no evidence. So unless you have evidence that I have the slightest bit of envy for a bunch of douchebag, dick fuckhead, talking head, shitwit physicists who have their ass up their, have their head up their asses, and I'm basically saying they've humiliated themselves preposterously, okay, in the sense that the truth was so fucking obvious, and they stepped right over it, okay, to go leap on a unicorn. And I'm going to basically prove that's exactly what they did. They wanted the unicorn to be the truth, and they basically stepped on the truth, squished it, to jump on top of their fucking goddamn unicorn. That's how much they gave a fuck about the truth. That's how much they gave a fuck about science. They're frauds and charlatans, and now they're just religious kooks like you. So yeah, keep talking what the Pope says, fuckhead. Okay? You're little popes of science. But they're wrong, and I'm going to prove it. Alright. I'm not going to bother reading another dragon comment, regardless of what he's saying. Fuck you, asshole. So yeah, I'll be done with him later. Anyway. Yeah, not great comments, again. Not very useful, not on the subject of the video, which was the subject of velocity. And the fact that apparent velocity, I could say this hand is moving 3 miles an hour. Now, if I knew, because I had some special ability to do it, I knew I could vibrate my hand up and down at a very fast speed that you wouldn't detect. So I could just move my hand. You could say, oh, that hand's moving 3 miles an hour. But if you know that the hand's actually going up and down the whole time, then you would have to know that that distance has to be accounted for, that extra traveling time, and that the real velocity, not the apparent velocity, but the real velocity would be much higher. So, fuck you people. Naysaying, nitpicking, motherfucking cunt, rude bastards. I mean, really, it's on a channel called Draft Science. I'm proposing a counter theory, all right? And yeah, I'm a little bit, I'm being bold, all right? But there's nothing I've done in my initial video that deserves this counter, rude commentary. So if you can't grow up a little, then expect more of this, and eventually expect me to say "fuck you" in a more overt way. If you're gonna, like I said, watch why bother watching a 30-minute video, 26-minute video? No, it's titled "Speed and GPS," and then post comments that have nothing to do with speed and the fact that you have to change the timing on the clocks on GPS. I mean, but I mean, what's the point? Why don't bother watching the videos if you're not going to pay attention to the content in them, and you're going to make comments not relevant to the content in the video?